Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of F122 Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. It's the USGP here in COTA, but we have some news from reporters to kick off this episode.
Rumors are floating around the paddock this week that the Porsche-Penske takeover of Haas may be a terminated deal. Information is limited, but it sounds like a confirmation is on the way. We will keep an eye on this throughout the remainder of the season.
The rumors around Haas don't end there. There's been talks that Red Bull is potentially seeking out the Haas rookie of Gary Owen to pilot one of their cars next season. It's no secret that Sergio Perez has been further off his teammate than any other teammate comparison this year. Owen was asked about the development earlier today.
So, Gary, there's been some rumors that you may be linked to a Red Bull ride next season. Any comments you can make on this?
I've never tried to ride a can of Red Bull, so I can't really tell you. Well, there you hear myself and my response now as we landed in Texas here, Austin, Texas that was, and we were ready to head to Circuit of the Americas and get some racing here for a home race for the Haas F1 team at least now. As you can see, looking at the engine, unfortunately, we are going to have to take a 65 place grid penalty because of a bunch of engine parts that I actually had to swap out. Max Verstappen continues to lead the championship by just over 30 points over Charles Leclerc. The battle for the constructors continues as Ferrari is not behind, too far behind Red Bull that is, and we talked about it, we might be linked to a Red Bull ride for next season, so we will stay tuned on that is all I can, well, really tell you now. As we were on track here though, Friday afternoon in free practice one, getting as much, comfortability as I could out of this car. Circuit of the Americas, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, this is a bottom 3 circuit for me in Formula 1. I just do not enjoy driving this track in any F1 game. Not usually a huge fan of watching this Grand Prix either. It's never really hit for me at COTA. But the 2021 Circuit of the Americas race was probably the one one of the only ones I've thoroughly really enjoyed from a viewing perspective now. As we continue though in our free practice one lap times, and we were doing the race strategy and the car felt pretty good. I was pretty comfortable finding good time here. I was about 3/10 to 6/10 of a second on average better per lap here on the race strategy, and overall was pretty happy with that. We were P14, but there you see 7 grid penalties because of the components that we've changed, which equals 65 positions. Look at my view overnight here, by the way. It was actually projected to rain in qualifying, and you can see it was a bit of a stormy night from my hotel, and we arrived at the track on Saturday, and you can see the overcast skies. So there was a storm brewing, a storm on the way here. So fish helmet might be perfect timing for that now as we were ready to kick off qualifying. And we obviously don't really care too much. You can see this is what it looked like before we get going here. You can see the rain is coming. You can see that wall of a storm ready to attack this circuit, but it doesn't really matter what we do and put up on the board here in qualifying because we have a 65 place grid penalty, so we're no matter what starting at the back. And you can see sprinkles of rain already on the halo of the car, so the rain is definitely getting here. It's just kind of sprinkling right now, and although we can't actually get a good qualifying effort and running laps doesn't really get us anywhere, I wanted to still see what we had in the car, so I decided to continue on here. If we do for whatever reason make it to Q3, I do plan to retire the car and not even bother now. As you can see though, it was crucial to get a lap in as soon as possible because the track was starting to get a little bit damp. We were P5 and we would end up P8, so we only lost a couple more spots. And look at this. Perez nearly misses Q2. Leclerc nearly misses. Max Verstappen does miss. Verstappen 19th place at the end of Q1, and that's huge for the championship. Leclerc has a massive opportunity, especially if he makes it to Q3, to capitalize. But look at this. Q2, well, the rain had engulfed the circuit, so we were on track here on the intermediate compound tire. Once again back on circuit and just seeing what we can do. Now another curveball is, it was a race against time, or against weather in Q1, it's the same thing here because the track, we're right now on the intermediate compound tire, but the track was quickly getting wetter and wetter and wetter to the point where the wet tires were going to have to be the tires that were needed. So it was crucial again to set a lap as soon as possible, which we did. We went P6 for the time being, and you can see myself actually trying a second lap, and then I invalidated it. So P7 is where we are, and we would actually end up P10. So myself and Mick Schumacher advance, but Leclerc does not advance. That is huge for the championship. Talk about a choke. I would retire immediately in Q3, and this is what we would end up getting. Zhou Guan Yu Schumacher, for whatever reason, didn't put in a time, but it's 3 drivers in the top 3, all British. Russell, Hamilton, as well as Lando Norris, your top 3 over Sainz and Perez. So we're going to get ready to go racing. Let's head to the grid.
Welcome once again then to the United States Grand Prix here in the magnificent city of Austin. It was here in 2018 that Kimi Räikkönen delighted the world by taking the top step of the podium for the first time in 114 races. There's always a record to be broken, so what, I wonder, is in store for us here today? It's the Circuit of the Americas then, situated 14 miles outside of the great city of Austin. This is a 3.6-mile lap with 20 corners, 10 to the left and 10 to the right, and top speeds of around 200 miles per hour. Overtaking opportunities are available into turns 1 and 12, especially with that rear wing DRS wide open. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, and Zhou, Norris, Leclerc, Bottas, and Carlos Sainz. They've taken a grid penalty. Ricciardo, Vettel, Max Verstappen, and Latifi, Gasly, Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Golden Boy, Albon. They've taken a grid penalty, and Mick Schumacher. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. And with me today, of course, is Natalie Pinkham. We should talk about Williams. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within the team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do. And that has definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
You saw the starting grid. We're not the only one with a grid penalty. Quite a few penalties handed out, but mediums to hards, simple. Let's get ready.
Here we go then, the formation lap gets underway and the excitement here is building as we near ever closer to the start of the race. Which team will come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? Well, we'll soon find out. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
Alright team, we got a lot of work ahead of us here today, but honestly, we can just keep it clean. Who knows, anything can happen, so let's have fun. You hear myself there on the radio to the team. We're ready to go. Lights out. Even after the 65 place grid penalty, we're still not dead last. Our teammate, Mick Schumacher, is behind us, and well, we're also joined by one of the Williams cars here at the back of the grid. It's George Russell, set to lead the field to the green flag. Lewis Hamilton is teaming up there as well. Fernando Alonso, don't rule him out now, as we are ready to go. 5 red lights here from COTA, and it's lights out. We're underway. Sergio Perez there in third place, going to get boxed in quickly. He's going to actually be all open there on the right side. Now here comes Fernando Alonso, 3 went up the inside. He's side by side with Russell into turn 1. He takes the lead momentarily, but Russell is going to be able to fight him off here side by side through the right-hander, but Russell already clear. Hamilton started second, ends up in third place behind Fernando. Now what a launch into turn 1 from the Spaniard, Fernando Alonso, the 2-time world champion. He's been strong recently in that Alpine. We saw it in Singapore, and we're seeing seeing it again here in Circuit of the Americas now, as you can see as well. Perez cycled through down in about 5th place, so not the start he was looking for either. From 3rd to 5th place is not what you want now. As you can see, everybody settling in here. A big move up the inside. That's Carlos Sainz, who just drove into the back of Esteban Ocon and tore a part of his front wing off, so we already know what that means for Carlos. He's going to be boxing at the end of this lap. I myself would actually drop down to last place. I got a little bit sideways. I did save it, as you can tell, because I'm still right here, but we did give up a few spots. And now as we came through out of the left-hander on the long straightaway, a move up the inside to make Schumacher. He might be our teammate, but I am trying to get on with my day here. A little bit of oversteer there. Schumacher clear, but I'm going to send another one up the inside. That time we make the move happen. Up at a 19th place here. Now, didn't really expect to be racing that hard for 19th, especially with my teammate here of Mick Schumacher now, but we would settle in briefly to 19th place, and it was within a couple of corners. We were all over the back of Alex Albon, Daniel Ricciardo, Carlos Sainz, both into the pit lane for wing damage here. Albon to the right of Stroll. I'm going to go up the inside of Albon into turn 1, and Lance Stroll runs into the back of Yuki Tsunoda and tears the right front wheel right off the car. Virtual safety car, not a full physical safety car. Virtual safety car on track, so we would be ready to go back racing pretty quickly here at the end of the lap. But Lance Stroll, well, he choked. He just simply drove right into the back of Tsunoda down into turn 1. So really awkward there. And speaking of Yuki Tsunoda, I was all over the back of him here as we were headed towards the DRS zone. DRS still enabled on lap 3 because the virtual safety car was before lap 3 here now. But a move to the right side of the driver on soft tires. Tsunoda locks up into the braking zone, goes straight on into the side of me, damages our wing as this chaotic start of the Grand Prix continues. Another virtual safety car. You see it there. He locked up, tore his wing right off, and tore half of my wing off. So immediately myself and Tsunoda diving into the pit lane at the conclusion of the lap. Fortunately, we do get to pit under virtual safety cars, so we're not going to lose as much time as we would under a normal green flag scenario, but this has put us in a compromised position. I decided to put on the hard compound tires still, which was the plan to go from mediums to hards just way earlier than scheduled. So basically, we're going to race this hard compound tire from lap 4 to 28. I'm not planning to pit again unless we get some crazy moment with a safety car and we can come in and put on, say, a soft or a medium compound tire, but I'm going to doubt that's going to happen here now. But so we're kind of in a land of our own. Things getting a little spicy up front though. Max Verstappen actually passing his championship threat of Charles Leclerc. Leclerc kind of made a mistake right there, opened the door wide open for Max Verstappen to complete the pass here. But you can see lap 6, I myself settling in now. Sainz, Bottas, Tsunoda all in front of us, all of those drivers with the wing damage that had to come into the pit at some point, as well as Daniel Ricciardo as well picked up some damage, but they were all on mediums, so they are going to have to pit again compared to myself, who should be able to make it to the end. Max Verstappen, who started on the softs, he's going to come in. He's on a 2-stop strategy compared to Leclerc's 1-stop. We're watching them two so much, of course, as there's just barely over 30 points separating them with a handful of Grand Prix remaining. After today, well, it's only Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi to cap off this rookie season in Formula 1 and see where we end up next season. But you can see now, as we come through to the end of lap 11, Tsunoda starting to struggle on those mediums. My hard compound tires were already starting to overpower the mediums, and here we are side by side with Tsunoda down into turn 1, and that's going to be an easy overtake right there, and already to the back of Valtteri Bottas on lap 12. I was really happy actually with the pace in this car, and you can see DRS and ERS on overtake mode here on the back straightaway, and now trying to close in. Valtteri goes defensive. I'm going to go around the outside. Last time I tried that, well, that was on Tsunoda, who just plowed right through me. Fortunately, a way better scenario that time. We get past Valtteri, and he's under attack from Tsunoda as well, but he holds him off for the time being. So another position gained right there into P16. Yellow flags on the front straightaway. However, it's a Red Bull. It's Sergio Perez who's blowing up down this front straightaway. You see the smoke pouring out of the back. That's big for the Constructors. Ferrari is still well within striking distance of the Constructors Championship, and you can see this is going to be a big hit here because now Perez is going to be out. Verstappen's currently out of the points on a 2-stop strategy as well. He's currently in 13th or about 13th place here. So we'll wait and see if he can even get points today, as he's going to be in an interesting position now. As you can see myself continuing to focus forward now, already at about the halfway point of this Grand Prix here. Now is yellow flags again though on lap 14. Vettel, Leclerc just in front of us is Yuki Tsunoda, who's having some kind of mechanical failure. He's going to pull off the track, and he just drove into the barrier, and that's actually going to bring out a safety car. The damage that he had with the front wing being torn off brings out a safety car. I am in perfect timing to pit for a set of medium compound tires. So a bit of a late call, but it does work pretty well. 2.6 seconds. Our teammate Schumacher just pitted. That's why the team was kind of slow to react to us, and I didn't realize I was going to pit till, well, just before we were headed into the pits. So there you see the running order now. It's not really changed up front, but Max Verstappen is 6th place. But here's the kicker. He still has to pit. For whatever reason, he did not pit under the safety car, so he is going to have to come in again. Leclerc, who's in 9th, not having to pit again, but Charles Leclerc, talk about wasting a day away where you could really gain points on Max Verstappen. He is not putting up the result that he should be going for. We are now down in 16th place, but we now have a massive advantage of every single car in front of us. Everybody is on hards that are going to the end with no pit stops. We are on fresh mediums. We are going to be absolutely flying on this restart, and here we go for said restart. Currently, P16 of 17 cars remaining. Valtteri Bottas just behind myself. Carlos Sainz just in front. George Russell leads us back to green flag racing. Fernando Alonso has held on to second all Grand Prix long. Imagine if he got the lead. Could he have held on or driven away even? Esteban Ocon up there in 5th place. You can see on the hard compound tires. Max Verstappen, though, I expect him to be boxing very, very soon. You can see myself immediately trying to put the fight to Carlos Sainz. They're the Spaniard, but we would have to wait. Got to be patient here. I knew we had a massive advantage, so I didn't want to do anything, too crazy, as I do lunge one, though, quite deep up the inside of Carlos into the corner, and, well, that allows me to get clear and then put the attack to now Alex Albon here. Here we go to the right-hand side, the same spot where we made the move on Schumacher earlier on lap 1. This time, a much easier completed pass, and now Pierre Gasly is coming up next, but at the end of this lap, the first lap on the restart, we would actually see Max Verstappen come into the pit lane here on that medium set of tires that he is on, but he wasn't the only one. A couple more drivers as well, Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo. Here we are making a move on Pierre Gasly, and all of a sudden, we're into the points. What a recovery drive after the wild start to a Grand Prix we've had. Mick Schumacher up there in the top 10, and now you can see a move on Nicholas Latifi as well. It's kind of starting to become a bit of a normal thing to see both of these Haas cars inside of the points, and we just had the news come out. It's looking like the deal with the Penske Porsche takeover has been completely just trashed. It's been terminated. So it's really interesting to see how that's going to play out here over the next few episodes. But now getting ready to make a move on Mick Schumacher here on the back straightaway. These medium compound tires at this moment on lap 20 were showing no signs of slowing down, and neither was Schumacher into the corner because he nearly ran into the back of Charles Leclerc, but we lunge one back up the inside there. Another pass up into P8. Leclerc, I'm really sorry because I know you need the points, but you're next up to bat. I am coming for you very, very quickly. You can see all over the back of Leclerc. Look at this, into the penultimate corner, putting a bunch of pressure on the Monegasque driver. Here we go up the inside, potentially here into the final turn. I could have waited, but I'm going to send it, get the pass done now. Up at a P7 we go. What a move right there on Leclerc in the Ferrari. Next up, Zhou Guanyu, fellow rookie here in the Alfa Romeo, who's also having a fantastic Grand Prix, and here we are closing up on the back of him in these final 10 laps of this race. Russell driving away with the victory currently over Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. Final turn, lap 21. You see Zhou struggling a little bit for grip, and I was not at this point, and I'm gonna just easily whiz right past him, setting my personal best lap time of the day with the 1:36.4. So pretty happy with that. But lap 25 now, we had checked out from Zhou, from Leclerc, 3 seconds ahead of the Alfa Romeo, trying to close in on the back of Esteban Ocon. 1.8 seconds between himself and myself here now, with only a few laps remaining. An absolute superstar drive, you could call it, from myself here today in this car. I'm going to kind of brag a little bit. I mean, it was fantastic strategy. Of course, we got very lucky to be allowed to put on this medium compound tire, with Yuki Tsunoda having the mechanical failure and deciding to slam into the barrier that was, in front of him. But here we are, coming to the final lap of the Grand Prix. We are close to Ocon. The mediums at this point, didn't have that same effect that they did earlier on in this run. But Max Verstappen, what's important is Leclerc currently in 8th place. A very big missed opportunity. However, luckily for him, Max Verstappen is not in the points. There's a train being led right now by our teammate Mick Schumacher as he's trying to get points nearly into the back of the Alpine there of Ocon. But you can see George Russell through the penultimate turn down towards the final turn for the 3rd time this season. Russell will be a Grand Prix winner here for the Mercedes F1 team over Fernando Alonso, who is going to get the podium alongside Lewis Hamilton as well. Fantastic effort from Alonso. Here we are trying to run down Ocon in the final turn. He's going to lose a little bit of grip right there, and we throttle up trying to make something happen. A little bit too ambitious as we crash across the line there, and actually, for whatever reason, I got a time penalty for doing that. I got a 3-second time penalty, but it didn't cost me any time, thankfully. Driver of the day, let's head to the podium here from Circuit of the Americas.
They take the checkered flag then here in Austin in what has been another fabulous Grand Prix. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
So after a magnificent race, we can now...
Well, there we have it. What a Grand Prix. 2 virtual safety cars, 1 full-blown physical safety car, and a heck of a podium as well. Missing the teams that are going at it for the championship in the drivers and constructors, and that's Ferrari, is of course Red Bull as well. However, Mercedes actually is still in striking distance here of the Constructors' Championship if everything really goes well over the course of, say, the next 3 Grand Prix with Mexico, Brazil, as well as Abu Dhabi. Now, as I'm very excited to see what is going to be in store for these final 3 rounds of this championship here. And, well, speaking of that, we'll take a look at the point standings here in just a moment, but you see the finishing order there. P6 and P9 for us Haas drivers. Verstappen in 12th place. Nicholas Latifi, by the way, nearly got points here in Formula 1. Stroll, as well as PEREZ, Tsunoda, all out of the Grand Prix. But let's take a look at the actual points scenario because, well, although Leclerc only got 4 points, that's still 4 points of a gain on Max Verstappen to keep him in the hunt. 28 points separate Max Verstappen from Charles Leclerc. And actually, Russell's not even mathematically eliminated yet, so, I mean, never say never there, but 50 points up for Mercedes, 11 for Ferrari, Red Bull at the top. Mexico, a lot can be decided there, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.